Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Nanda Vajajana Ranjana Nanda Vajajana Ranjana Nanda Vajajana Ranjana Jana Jana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayada Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Shri Radhe Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Shri Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya. Gopremanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 15. The Pandavas retire timely. Text number 10. Patnyas tava dimakam klipta Mahabhisheka Shlagishta Charu Kaparam Kitavai Sabhayam Sprishtam Vikirya Padayo. Yes. The third word supposed to be padayo, but she missed one. One word is missing there. Patitashu mukya yas tachstriyo krita Hatesha Vimukta Kesha. Yeah, it should be Padayo after Vikirya. Padayoh. Anybody? Anybody know the melody? Okay. Patnyastavadi makaklipta mahabhisheka. Slaghishta charu kabaram kitavai sabhayam. Prishtam vikirya padayo patita shumukya. Yes, tatstriyo kritatas hatesha vimukta kesha. Patnyastavadi maka klipta mahabhisheka. Slagishta chara kabaram kitavai sabhayam. Sprishtam vikirya padayo patitashu mukya. Yas tatstriyo krita hatesha vimukta kesha.
Patnyastavadi Makakripta Mahabhisheka Shadistacharu Kavaram Kitavai Sabhagyam Shrishtam Vikirya Padayo Patita Shrumukya Yastat Striyo Kritaha Tesha Vimukta Kesha
Padnyastavadi Makaklipta Mahabhisheka Slagishtacharu Kabaram Gidava Sabhayam Vishtam Vikirya Padayo Patita Shumukya Yasmatriyo Kidahatesha Vimukta Kesha. Anyone else? Patyam of the wife. Tava, your. Adimaka, during the great sacrificial ceremony. Klipta, dressed. Mahabhisheka, greatly sanctified. Slaghishta, thus glorified. Chadu, beautiful. Kabaram, clustered hair. Kitavai, by the miscreants. Sabhayam, in the great assembly. Spristam, being caught. Vikirya, being loosened. Padayo, on the feet. Patita Ashru Mukya, of the one who fell down with tears in the eyes. Ya, he. Tat, there. Striya, wives. Akutta, became. Hata Isha, bereft of husbands. Vimukta Kesha, loosened hair. Translation. It is he, this is this is Arjuna, right? Arjuna speaking to King Yudhisthira. It is he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes. Translation again, I'll say you please repeat. It is he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrifice. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Queen Draupadi had a beautiful bunch of hair which was sanctified in the ceremonial function of Rajasuya Yajna. But when she was lost in a bet, Dushasana touched her glorified hair to insult her. Draupadi then fell down at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna decided that all the wives of Dushasana and company should have their hair loosened as a result of the battle of Kurukshetra. Thus, after the battle of Kurukshetra, after all the sons and grandsons of Dhritarashtra had died in the battle, all the wives of the family were obliged to loosen their hair as widows because of Dushasana's insulting a great devotee of the Lord. The Lord cannot tolerate insults upon himself by any miscreant, because the Father tolerates even insults from the Son. But he never tolerates insults upon his devotees. By insulting a great soul, one has to forego all the results of pious acts and benedictions also. Om Agyan Tamarandasya Giranjana Shlakaya Chakshulamintamina Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manu Vishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaraman Tiswa Barandagam. We're born in the darkness of ignorance, but our spiritual master has kindly forced open our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, we offer our most humble and respectful obeisance unto his lotus feet. Nama Om Vishnu Badai Krishna Stai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachadane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pasya Charishtadane Nasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hey Krishna, hey Govinda. Save my honor. Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatrubhisya kripasinubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. So this is a really, really wonderful section of the Srimad Bhagavatam where Arjuna is expressing his feelings of love, feelings of separation from his Lord Sri Krishna. So this is the business of devotees. This is explained by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Machchita matgata prana. The thoughts of my pure devotees, they dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered unto me and derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Arjuna's speaking to Yudhisthira, two devotees. What are they talking about? They're talking about Krishna. Now this is, of course, you could say it's not very happy circumstance, the disappearance of Krishna, but they're talking about Krishna and they're getting relief from any of the sufferings that they might have gone through or that they're going through mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. This is the remedy. Krishna Katha. This is what's going on. Well, this is a great lesson. Devotees come together, talk about Krishna. This is the relief. So he's remembering. He's talking about the first sentence here. It is he only. He's talking about it's Krishna. Hey, get together. We're talking about Krishna. And what did he do? What did Krishna do for us? He's remembering. What did Krishna do? He's remembering how Krishna actually protected them. And Krishna was the cause of all their success. Even though Arjuna was considered to be one of the most powerful warriors on the battle of Kurukshetra, which is being remembered here, he's not taking credit. It's explained in one day, I think he killed a whole Akshuhini division. And in the whole battle, he killed more than any other soldier. I mean, he was actually responsible for the victory in that sense. But he's not taking credit. He's not remembering, what did I do in my service to Krishna? No, he's remembering how it was Krishna behind everything. And this is really important mood to understand our position as Krishna's instrument. And Arjuna's remembering how Krishna empowered him. Later on, he's going to remember how Krishna took the power away. So, whose credit is due? So, this particular verse is talking about the insult to Draupadi. The most famous pastime in the Mahabharata is the attempt to disrobe Draupadi in the Asatsabhaya, the assembly of uncultured men. So we could say that, how did that happen? Well, it's a long history. But here's explaining that. There's some really beautiful words in this Sanskrit here. Maha-abhishekam. It's referring to Draupadi's hair being sanctified, being washed, being dressed in a certain, I mean, usually you think Abhishek is for the deity. It's Abhisheka for the deity. We're familiar with Abhisheka for the deity. Maybe Abhisheka for the spiritual master. There's a wonderful pastime Prabhupada that Brahmananda got. He was first taking devotees out on parikram in Vrindaban. Prabhupada encouraged him, was please, you bathe, bathe. And he wasn't feeling well. So. But once Prabhupada saw the devotees bathing, jumping and splashing each other, then Prabhupada, there's a video of this, and Prabhupada took off his cloth, his outer cloth, put a gamcha on, and went in, and then the devotees were, pouring water on him and enjoying with Prabhupada. So bathing is spiritual. This is talking about bathing the queen, her hair sanctified, and of course it's the most painful thing that happened leading up to the battle of Kurukshetra was this insulting of Draupadi. She was in, we can't go into the whole story, it's too long, but I mean, the Pandavas, headed by Yudhisthira, gambled away everything. And in the famous dice match with Shakuni being an expert. And then after Yudhisthira had lost everything, he lost his brothers, lost his treasury, lost his animals, he lost his jewels, everything. So then Shakuni says, now, well, you still have one thing left, you have your own self. So bet yourself. So I bet, and the dice were tossed, I've won. He said, actually, now you actually still have one thing left in your possession. What is that? You have your wife. You bet her. And this was like unheard of. So Yudhisthira, under the influence of the moment, he said, okay, because he was promised, if you bet Draupadi and you win, then you can get everything back. So he bet Draupadi. And when Draupadi was won, it was a complete chaos in the assembly, because there were some people who actually thought that was impossible. And so, but they didn't care. Duryodhana sent a servant to Draupadi's quarters. Draupadi was there in her quarters, being tended, and she was in one cloth. She was wearing one cloth because of time of month. She was in her period, and so the servant came and says, "You must now come," because Duryodhana says, "Now you're a slave to your husband Yudhisthira. He was mad and he lost everything." So she said, "What? He must have. How could this happen?" He says, well, "First of all, if he lost everything, how could he bet me? So you go back to the assembly and you ask the elders, did he bet himself first, or did he bet me first?" So the servant went back to the assembly and he asked that question. Draupadi's not coming because she wants to know the answer to this first. And the question was asked in the assembly, and nobody, even Bhishma, couldn't answer that question in a proper way. And they were debating, and nobody, since there was no answer, Dhritarashtra was just silent. So then Duryodhana sent back the servant. He tried again. Draupadi still had the same question. They couldn't answer it. So then, at this time, Duryodhana said, "This is nonsense. Dushasana, you go and bring her here." So Dushasana, big Kshatriya, one of Duryodhana's brother, he went into the chambers. And as soon as Draupadi knew what was happening, she started to run towards the shelter of the women's quarters with Mother Gandhari's quarters and everything, and Dushasana just ran after her, grabbed her by the hair. That's what's this interesting. He grabbed her by the hair and he physically dragged her, and she was also explaining to him that what you're doing is going to destroy the whole dynasty. She was not just taking it lightly. She said, what you're doing is offending a woman, and not only a woman, the wife of the founder. You don't know what you're grabbing here. So anyway, he grabbed her into something. He threw her down in front of all these men. It was completely unheard of. And this is what's being explained here. When she fell down, at that time she fell down. It says at the feet of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna wasn't personally there, but when she was thrown down on the ground, that's when she began her prayers to Lord Krishna. Internally, she was praying for protection from Lord Krishna. So that insult to Draupadi that was encouraged by Duryodhana, Karna, Dushasana, and allowed to take place by Dhritarashtra was the cause, should I say, it was the visible cause of the whole war, that insult to a woman. So this is like, protection of women. This we're in class the other day was describing the first duties of a leader is to give protection to children, protection to cows, protection to old men, and protection to women. And whenever that's violated, wherever these four are not being protected, then there's reaction. When children are abused, women are abused, cows are abused, old people are abused. So the duty of government is to give protection to these four classes at least, if not other. And the verse that we studied the other day, it was like the poor, the innocent. So actually the king's the leader's duty is to give protection to everyone, including not just cows, but other animals and trees and plants, everything. The earth is the reservoir of all living entities. So what we're discussing here, Dushasana grabbed her hair that had been sanctified by Maha Abhishek. You could imagine, Maha Abhishek, we have an Abhishek, but Maha Abhishek means her hair was like completely bathed, and probably her whole body, I think, was being bathed and tended to, and her hair was beautified. A woman's hair is it's a tricky subject, but it's in the Vedic culture, a woman's hair, they said, well, I was understanding that a young girl, she gets her hair cut once. That's how it's supposed to be. The Vedic culture is a baby girl gets her hair cut once, and the rest of her life supposed to let it. So, there's two things. One is that, so loosening the hair. Generally, a woman's hair is meant to be kept tied. There's even quotes from Prabhupada, I forgot to bring them, but there are quotes from Prabhupada, a woman should keep her hair tied or braided. It's a sign of chastity, sign of, and then there's the subtle science about how if your hair is loose, how it dissipates energy if it's tied. This is all subtle, it's not really something Prabhupada talks about, but it's there, and it's there. And it's interesting subject, but so Draupadi's hair had been sanctified, had been beautified, had been braided, had been everything. And then, of course, when Dushasana grabbed her hair, it completely scattered. Now, if you ever see pictures of witches or demonesses, how do they keep their hair? Wow. It's completely wild, right? But so Draupadi's hair was loosened, and it was completely disheveled because of Dushasana's touched it, and it was completely. I can imagine what the pain for such a cultured woman to be thrown with her hair completely a mess. I mean, those of us who are married know that sometimes it's time to go to to go to an event, and there's still a lot, and your wife is getting ready. I think make sure that everything is nice. Hair, makeup, dress. It takes a guy like 5 minutes. But so how much pain for her as a woman and as a wife of 5 powerful warriors to be in that situation where she was being insulted. And what was the result? The result was Krishna personally arranged the whole battlefield of Kurukshetra, and all these warriors, their wives, their hair was loosened. So how is it loosened? Because at the time of the death of the husband, the hair is no longer kept. It's a part of its custom, so you can tell. Just like Prabhupada said that seeing the hair of a woman, you're able to tell what her position is, or seeing the face, they're parted in the middle, they have red kumkum, they're married. So the Vedic culture, if a woman has her hair parted on the side, she's considered a prostitute. Just by looking at the dress in Vedic culture, it was designed such a way. So anyway, this is talking about the offense. Krishna couldn't tolerate this offense to his devotee. And of course, Krishna, and when these Dushasana and Duryodhana became fed up with all the talking, trying to figure out, was it dharmic, was it adharmic, then Karna starts insulting Draupadi even more. Oh, you're not even chaste. You have 5 husbands. Doesn't matter. You're such an unchaste woman. You could be naked or clothed. Doesn't matter. And so then, because the Pandavas had lost themselves, then Duryodhana ordered, okay, take off the garments of the Pandavas. They lost everything. So now their upper garments, were taken off, and then he said, or now take Draupadi's clothes. When Dushasana came, grabbed Draupadi's one cloth, really, and started to pull. And at that time, she raised her arms in complete surrender, and, "Hey Krishna, hey Govinda, save my honor." And Krishna explained, so how is it Krishna, he came, but nobody could see him, and he incarnated and provided unlimited sari, and kept pulling and pulling. But still, the amazing thing is, even though this miracle took place in front of all the Kauravas, they didn't change their heart. It didn't change their heart. That shows how powerful Maya is. That even though Krishna is performing miracles, and he's performing miracles every day, right before our very eyes, every minute there's a miracle that Krishna is performing. But even when that happens, sometimes it doesn't change our heart. We just remain kind of in our own space. So, of course, from that, even though Dhritarashtra kind of intervened, Draupadi asked for a boon for getting her husbands freed. She asked for 2 boons: free Yudhisthira, free the other brothers from the slavery that they were trapped into with that gambling. But still, eventually, it led to the war. And that offense, so this Prabhupada mentions here in the purport, that insulting a great devotee of the Lord is so dangerous for our spiritual life, because the Lord will not tolerate insults. Like a father or mother will tolerate insults to themselves, but when there's fighting between the children, especially a smaller sibling, and then immediately there'll be interference. They'll stop it. Sometimes a child will be very hateful toward the mother. "You took my toy, I hate you." The mother will tolerate it. But when there's fighting between the siblings, so of course this is an important understanding in terms of working and living in a community of devotees, how we have to avoid offenses and learn to work cooperatively and appreciate each other's contribution to the whole, because it is a whole. Krishna is interested in the whole offering, not just part of the offering. So working together in this Sankirtan movement, we should learn to appreciate each other and avoid insulting devotees. The Lord never tolerates insults upon his devotees. By insulting a great soul, one has to forego all the results of pious acts and benedictions also. So in order to have awareness of our own spiritual position and the spiritual positions of others, we have to carefully take shelter of Krishna's holy name. It's only by the chanting of the holy name do we have any idea who a devotee is or who we are, isn't it? That we have been awakened. Our spiritual consciousness has been awakened. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. Our spiritual consciousness has been awakened by the gift of the holy name. And if we chant carefully, we will get more and more realization of who is devotee, who is not devotee, who we are, and what our position is. So, this is some of the thoughts I had for today. Any questions or comments anyone like to make on this verse and this pastime? Yes, Mathura Prabhu.
Yes, at the end you were talking about appreciating others, not offending them, not criticizing unnecessarily like that, and that it's very dangerous and hurt our spiritual life. And I remember when I joined, the mood was that, like, devotees were just constantly aware of these things. It was part of what they were aware of.
Mm-hmm.
The relationships were like filled with like proper etiquettes and those exchanges of what we call exchanges of loves. Srila Goswami mentions nectar instructions. So we give each other prasadam, offer prasad gifts or other gifts, or it was that service attitude. That was very. At least we were trying. And I believe Krishna was pushing up a lot of devotees on that platform, on the higher platform, because they were trying to be that way, with others and develop that respect for everybody and like that. But by actively practicing those principles of Vaishnava behavior.
Yes. So whatever you have learned, it's not something that you have in the past. You keep that with us. You keep that with you, right? And you can practice it today. Whatever we've learned, if we've actually learned something, there's two things. There's learning, there's realization. You can hear about something, you can understand it intellectually, then in putting it in practice. So nothing is holding us back from putting it into practice except our own lack of desire or determination. If you've learned something, if you've heard about it, you know that something is true, something is beneficial, then that requires us to act on it, right? As soon as you have knowledge, we have responsibility. If you have knowledge and you don't do something, then there's a reaction. But if you don't have knowledge and don't do something, then, you're not. It's just like when I remember I first came to the temple in Ann Arbor. It was a preaching center. They just had a picture of Panchatattva. I had a bunch of, they gave us a big feast, first day in the temple ever. Just coming as a hippie, so I just laid down. I laid down in the temple after I ate, which just seems, it was a big, and then somebody came up to me and says, "Oh, your feet are pointing toward the deities. It's an offense." So, so I didn't know, but as you know, okay, to do things that are, then there's a reaction. Same way, positive things, if we have the instructions of the spiritual master, we have do's and don'ts, right? We have the things that we do and the things we don't do. Right? No illicit sex, no intoxication, no meeting, and no gambling. So many do's, chant 16 rounds, follow the regular principles, live with association of devotees, try to render service. We know those things. So if we don't follow them, we have this knowledge, then there's a reaction. The reaction is we won't. The reaction is ultimately that we won't attain love for Krishna. So it's our choice. The path is clear. Our choice. So if you have the knowledge, it's not something about the old days. In the old days we did this. The old days we did that. Now we can apply the same thing. and we can't wait for others to do it.
Absolutely.
We have to be the example.
What I would just add to that was, I think practically, on a practical level, I mean, what can we do? Things change in the material world. Even spiritual movement can kind of shift a little bit, but because I walked into something that was already going on. It was just like there were examples already, so that was easy for me.
It was easy, yeah.
Really nice. It made it easier. It wasn't always easy to, be humble yourself, to pay obeisance to another devotee, or offended, and you didn't want to admit it, but you knew you had to. You know what I mean, like that. It wasn't easy, but it was a lot easier because so many others were doing it and encouraging you, lovingly encouraging you, because they knew it was all beneficial. So it was a really across the board type of consciousness.
Right, the culture.
The place. It's not. Yeah, I can always, and I try. I try to do things. Some things that might be simple, but if I get up for prasad and I'm going to wash my hands, I can always ask someone at the table, "Hey, I'm going to wash my hands. Would you like anything else?" And I try to do that. I don't do it all the time, I must admit. But I try. But those little things, they show respect, service, and sincerity. All those qualities that nurtures these loving and love of Krishna, right? Because Krishna reciprocates with us. Because if we love his devotees, if we respect his devotees, that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I agree.
No, I
don't wait for anything.
I agree that if the culture is ripe, if the atmosphere is ripe with Vaishnav culture and etiquette, it becomes very satisfying, pleasing, and very easy to follow. And of course, without putting the responsibility on anyone else, we ultimately have the responsibility to ourselves be an exemplary devotee. We could say, oh, management should do it. Oh, the leadership, the GBC, the temple president. We can say that. But first of all, we have power. Somebody was saying in class the other day, we shouldn't underestimate, one of the was giving class the other day, saying we should never underestimate the power of one person's service, example, leadership. One person. Prabhupada, of course, is the greatest example, but any of us can change the atmosphere by being Krishna conscious. Of course, we're ultimately depending on all of us to be Krishna conscious, but one person can lift the atmosphere. So why not be the one person? Why not you, not her, not me? Why don't we, be the one person? One time a devotee was in an Istagosi with Radhanath Maharaj here in Vrindaban. And she said, I just don't feel any love from the... Maharaj said, and so the answer was, Maharaj said, you don't feel love? Well, start to show love, and then you'll feel love. If you give love to others, then you'll become lovable. If you express your love, loving exchanges, as Mathura is bringing up, if you express your love to others, then you'll become a lovable person. So, that's really the key, to be the example, to be the devotee that is kind, loving, and then the atmosphere changes automatically. It changes.
Yeah, I also think it's also a matter because it is.
Let's see if there's any other persons before we can contribute. Okay, you want to close on that? Okay.
It's just because it is Kali Yuga and sometimes the clouds of elusive energy are challenging us, so we may forget. It may have been 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we had this experience that wow, this is wonderful, it works. All I'm saying is it's just a little bit more difficult. If we don't hear the prachar, because from what I understand, those two go together, not just showing example, but actually talking about it and reminding and hearing from the acharyas why and so many things so we can get inspired to do it also.
Exactly. So thank you for bringing it up because it's a very important topic and the examples are there. Yeah.
Okay, the question I have is that Dushasana ultimately suffered the fate of having, being kill him as a result of touching, Draupadi, inappropriately. And in the scriptures, I hear about, if a man takes another man's wife, that it's righteous to kill this individual. So having experienced something like that, how am I supposed to understand the example the Pandavas are setting and for today's day and age?
Yes, Vedic times give certain things that are, in Vedic times, there were certain things that were considered to be reaction-free. Somebody kidnaps somebody steals your wife, rapes your wife, somebody burns your house down. What are the other ones? Attacks with deadly weapon, they poison you, you know. Yeah, so in Vedic times, you know, where the law would support that, because there's also law in Vedic time, law of Manu, support that. You would have a reaction. But now we're not living in Vedic times, so we have to respect the law as it is. And there are means to enforce the law. If the law was broken, a civil law, a state law, or if a moral law is broken, certain things you can't enforce morality. You can't enforce morality on another. But if there's a law that was broken, then it can be enforced. There's a whole apparatus, a state apparatus.
What does the law say about the consequences for taking another man's wife?
The consequences, the modern law?
Yes.
Modern law, the divorce rate is like, you know, there's really, you know, infidelity, adultery you're talking about, infidelity, adultery. In terms of civil law, depending on circumstances, there's really not that much reaction for that. There's not like a law that's you're going to be punished for cheating on your wife. In law, now in reality, there's a reaction. If you cheat on your wife or somebody steals your wife, there's a reaction for them, for their, you know. But that's not being dealt out by the state, you know, infidelity, unless there's really, you know, something serious with, you know, thieving property or harming physical harm, you know. So this is of course Kali Yuga. These things are gonna, you know, it's not a regulated situation. So we have to ask ourselves, huh?
I said infidelity is noted by a judge in the court of law.
Oh, it is, but it's not. It's
for spouses.
Right.
Court and all that stuff. They take that stuff.
In a divorce case or something, but not in a criminal manner. It's not considered to be criminal. Now, in some states of the world, infidelity, adultery is considered punishable. I think Saudi Arabia, you can get killed for, you know, having illicit sex, you know. So, yeah, we're talking about America now. So,
like, Prabhu, sorry, thank you for the class. I was just trying to Prabhu's point that the stealing of one of those rules that you could kill the other person was when in those times, like Ravana stole Sita, like he stole her, and then like Dushasana was trying to, you know, do it, but that was against the will of the particular individual. That's Sita Devi or Draupadi.
You can't hear it online.
Microphone.
Yeah, so that was without the permission of those particular Matajis and Devis, to be honest. So, and like they were chaste wives, like, and they did not want that to happen. It was actually stealing them away. But these days, you know, it's about the things are very different. It's the way chastity is defined is very different. The way personal opinions are is very different. So.
right. Good point. If somebody actually steals your wife, somebody actually kidnaps somebody against their will, but if somebody's wife is willing to go with somebody else, then I don't know the exact situation, but I mean, if some woman wants to go with somebody else, and one guy saying, "Hey, you're stealing my wife," but she's voluntarily getting in the car, climbing in the house, climbing in the bed, how is that stealing? You know, she's willingly participating. So it has to be understood from the free will perspective also.
Prince Rukmi went after Rukmini even though she wanted to go to Krishna and took the whole army to go to try to defeat, Krishna. So wasn't it bona fide by Kshatriya law?
So, my point is, Shastric law and modern law are different. So
You may not get karma. You may not get karma for following the Vedic principle.
But you may end up in jail.
You might get the karma, but in the eyes of the state, you better get ready to go to jail.
Or be executed.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your wonderful lecture. I can see this beautiful scene you have so wonderfully painted with this chaste, beautiful lady having had Mahabhishek on her hair, and she's pulled by her hair, dragged all over, thrown into the crowd, humiliated to the bone. Such a blunder. And nobody said a word. Everybody didn't want to commit Vaishnava, didn't say a word. And that led to the fact you said that there was the First World War and everybody got actually killed because of that blunder. That's what I understood, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't actually call it a blunder. it was deliberately based on, lust, anger, greed, the demoniac qualities.
So basically, there is something happening which is really bad, and nobody stands up and says, hey, stop this. This is, you're sick. You shouldn't do that. You're a control freak. Why do you want to take that woman? Why do you want to humiliate her? Stop it. That's not good. It's bad for us all. We'll all die.
Actually,
the whole world will suffer, or our place will suffer, or whatever.
Actually, there was, from Duryodhana's side, one of his brothers, Vikarna. Vikarna spoke up and told them to stop it, And then, of course, from the Vidur also spoke up. So there was speaking up, but the main person that everyone was obeying in there, the main leader, which was Dhritarashtra, he was the most senior member of the court, and he chose to stay silent. So even though there was advice being given, the person who ultimately made the decision stayed quiet and allowed it to happen. At the end, of course, he rectified it, but that was after all so many offenses were made and so many vows were taken. That's where Bhima made his vow to rip open Dushasana's chest and to break Duryodhana's thigh in the battle. He made vows that I will never attain my destination if I don't do that. And there's one description in Mahabharata. Bhima was so angry, but he was also submissive to his leader, which was Yudhisthira. He was so angry that fire and smoke were coming out of his nose and ears, and his look on his face was could just crumble the whole universe. So, ultimately, you can give advice. There's many times people are giving advice, but ultimately, there's one person that has to make the decision, at least in a normal hierarchical organization. And that person has the ultimate responsibility, because you can give advice, but if the leader doesn't go along with it, then he gets the result of all the good things, but he also gets the results of the mistakes that he made. So, yeah, your point is that people should be speaking up if something's not going right.
No, I don't think.
What is?
Out of this comfort zone, this seat, and go there and interfere, intervene, stop this from happening.
Oh, intervene.
Let's say you're looking at it on one side, murder, and just watching there and say, you policemen, you should do something. Well, I'm going there, I'm stopping this murder from killing this woman. I'm just taking action. And this is the thing,
Well, if you take the murder to example, the state murder of cows. The state is allowing cows to get murdered. The state is allowing so many abuses of so many things. The state, for instance, our own example, the state is allowing the coal company come underneath devotees, not devotees, any people's houses and destroy their houses. They're allowing it to happen. It's a law. It's a law. So now they're, the abuse of that or the abuse of animals, you can stand up. There are organizations that do that, but that's not our business. Our business is to give knowledge. By knowledge, ultimately, knowledge and the holy name, and by that, ultimately, society will move in that direction, in the proper direction. Any other points? Vani, you had your hand up earlier? Yeah. Okay, can you give it a microphone? You did or you didn't? Oh, you didn't, okay. Interesting topic, though. Shrimad